The Blood Path.
Hello and welcome to Plant Path Podcast today. My name is Oluwatosin Mugbadu and I'm your host on the show. It's so amazing to be with you once again. It's been a very fantastic year. I hope it has been for you too. We've done a couple of book reviews and the outcome has been so amazing. Today on the show, we are talking about a book. We're reading a book, The Emotionally Abusive Relationship: How to Stop Being Abused and Stop Abusing. The book is by Beverly Angel. Okay, let me say a few things about Beverly Angel. She is an internationally recognized psychotherapist and an acclaimed advocate for victims of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. I mean, that woman is amazing. She's a fantastic person. The book, the official dedication of the book, right? I needed to write it out like in my personal diary because I found it very meaningful. The dedication says something. It says, I dedicate this book to those who are willing to confront emotional abuse, whether it is in their partner or in themselves. And this is so apt because sometimes, yes, it's true that there are people that are abusive. There are people that are abused in relationships. At the same time, there are people that have been abusive, and it is very important to recognize when you are being the shitty partner to acknowledge it and know what to do. There's a trending song now. I mean, that song, I love that song. Okay, the song says, I'm just paraphrasing, I'm not saying exactly the way the person who sang the song said this. He said, if you've never messed up, put your hands in the air. If you've never been at fault, put your hand in the air. And immediately he says no hands. Like, sometimes the truth of the matter is that we have something to do with our abuse, and we are somehow contributing to that cycle. So let me not get ahead of myself, and let's jump right into the book. Really. Okay, so chapter part one of the book says identifying and understanding emotional abuse. I need you to listen to this podcast like you're in class and you're actually having a psychology class. Of course, there are so many personal examples in between, examples from the author, but I want you to really listen because this is something that I feel that we need to understand, especially due to the current happenings in our society. And it's really been said that out of 10 people in intimate relationships, about 7 will be emotionally abused at some point, one point or the other in their relationships. And usually physical abuse, verbal abuse, and all forms of abuse, they usually come along with emotional abuse. So emotional abuse is usually part of the package, and it's so subtle that sometimes we don't even recognize what's happening. Okay, so part one of the book, it says that borderline, and I need to really clarify this, borderline personality disorder and narcissist personality disorder are actually types of disorders. So it is not normal for someone to be a narcissist. It is not normal for someone to exhibit traits of borderline personality disorder. It is very abnormal. I needed to just say that out first of all so that we are all clear, and we are on the same page. It is very sad to know that emotional abuse is the least understood form of abuse. You know, when somebody is physically abused, it's easy to say, oh, she hit me, he hit me, oh, this is a scar, this is the wound, this is what I can see on my skin, on my body, there's a swelling or so. But with emotional abuse, there's usually no physical evidence, you understand, and it is one of those things that the definition is usually not clear. You know, it's just all lumped up in between here and there and so. And 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 really, the author was saying that evidence has been showing that it's becoming an epidemic in our society. So it's not only coronavirus that is a pandemic. emotional abuse is a real epidemic, because if 7 out of 10 people will be emotionally abused at one point of time or the other in their relationship, that's a very big deal. You're saying like in 100 people, 70 people, that's a lot. That's a lot. In 100 million people, 70 million people, and now that's something we really need to pay attention to. So if I were to ask you today, as you're listening to this podcast, if I were to ask you what emotional abuse is, can you really define what emotional abuse is? Because because as I said earlier, it's usually not clearly defined and all of that. And then another thing I would like to say is that emotional abuse is, sometimes we don't realize how much impact it has had on our lives. We don't realize how far, how deep it has gone, and that is why I take emotional abuse very, very, very serious as an individual, and of course as an organization, as Planned Path Consult. Okay, it is easy to look at abuse, and like this is a part of the book that I'm going to read out to you. I sent this out to a couple of friends, male, female, and they confirmed this. Did like a poll on this notion. He says that, let me just read it out to you. He says it is easy to look at abuse and say that the abuser is the male and the victim the female. While this is true for physical abuse, it is not always the case for emotional abuse. There usually in emotional abuse, there is the female who abuse are often completely unaware that their behavior is damaging their. Okay, let me take that again. Females who abuse are often completely unaware that their behavior is damaging their relationship or harming their partner. Sometimes when we say, when we say things, when we make some comments, we really have to be careful. Sometimes we say things that is a woman thing. Women usually don't have control of their tongue. It's a lie. That is not supposed to be the norm, really. Males are, and this part we really need to please listen to this part very well. It says that, I earlier said that females who abuse are often completely unaware that their behavior is damaging their relationship or harming their partner. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the fact that males who are emotionally abused are often unaware that they are being abused, or unwilling to admit it out of fear of being ridiculed by others and accused of being less than a man for putting up with it. Okay, so somebody told me something earlier in the year. I just had to keep my head straight and talk to the person, and then followed up the conversation. Let me just paraphrase what it feels like, what the conversation went like. It's somebody that said that he doesn't want to be in a relationship and everything, and an older woman, like slightly older woman, he said he was forced into the relationship. I'm like, you are being bullied into that relationship, and they don't even belong to the same, like they literally do not have mutual value safe. And the guy says, she wants the relationship, I don't want her to be angry with me. In my mind I was like, this is abuse already. Like, nobody can ever tell me otherwise. This is abuse. Thankfully, from what I know, they've broken up, and at least the woman is trying to also resolve her personal issues without dragging relationships into it. You understand? And it is just very important that we recognize, especially men, the male folk, we need to really be able to identify when something is abuse, and not try to put up with things that are not healthy in the name of being a man, or manning it up, or all of those kind of funny things that people say. Anyways, the third thing would also like to say, according to the author, let me point it out. He says that not only heterosexual couples suffer from these problems, gays, lesbians, bisexuals all experience emotional abuse in their relationships. Can you remember the gist that was on Twitter recently about I hate to actually attach this person to the gist, but I think that's the way you remember. This actress, say Actim Inkpem, Acting. You remember her? As younger sister, I think her name is Udi, if I remember vividly. The younger sister, who is a lesbian, was called out on social media recently that she's been abusive towards her partner, her lesbian partners. You can remember that gist. So it just really points out to the fact that one is a lesbian, gay, or a bisexual does not entirely exclude the person from being abused in their relationship. In fact, any form of interaction with human being, there's a likelihood that there's some form of abuse, even in business, in relationships, at work, anything, landlord tenant situation, anything, there's a probability. So let's not narrow it down to, oh, abuse, a man hits a woman. It is much more than that, really. Okay. Recognizing and addressing emotional abuse requires skill. Okay, so if somebody tells you and says that, this thing, it is not clear, emotional abuse, people lump it up, and a lot of people are not even able to decipher like which one is abuse, which one isn't, understand what's happening to them. Knowing, having that kind of background information should even pre-inform you that it will be very hard to recognize. Like, you really need a lot of skill to be able to recognize emotional abuse. And even if you have a healthy relationship, it's good to have all of this knowledge. Yes, it's good to have all of this knowledge so that you can help a cousin, a nephew, a friend, and be able to spot things out. You understand? um you know what pains me, Hmm? You know what pains me? A lot of people, and in fact, as a counselor, as a psychotherapist, you really need to be discerning to be able to fish these things out. Because people, when people are having issues, that's why, well, it's you that in the relationship that knows how it's paining you. When people are in relationships, aside from religious institutions even telling you go and pray, fast, and all of those, a lot of people just say go for counseling, and most people will put up their very best attitude on the day of counseling. And the counselor will be like, your relationship is fine now. But when that person gets to the house, or when it's just both of you, like the person becomes a real monster, and that is very scary. Okay, so as we said that this will require a lot of skill for you to be able to identify emotional abuse. Please make sure you are sharing this podcast with somebody. Make sure we are sharing with people, you're sharing it on your socials. You may be saving a life, an entire generation. I keep saying it. Share it. It doesn't cost you anything. Share it, listen to it, understand this, read it, listen again and again. Make sure that you are just helping somebody become better in their relationships and in their lives. Okay, so make sure you also listen to this book review to the end, because you don't want to miss out any part of it. Okay, there's one thing I would like to point out from the book, and I found it very, very instructive. It says that emotional abuse, what it does is that it slowly and systematically kills one's self-confidence, and the person just widows away, like the self-esteem is being eroded. Sometimes you see people that they had zest, gusto, they were just enthusiastic about life, and before you know it, they are not 10 years has passed, 3 years, 1 year, they're not doing anything, they're not as passionate as they used to be. If you know somebody like that in your circle, it could really be that I think that it could really be that the person is suffering from some form of emotional abuse, really, some form of emotional abuse. Um, when somebody that used to really believe in themselves and no longer believe in themselves, and you can't see any physical, what they call it, scars or anything, you need to dig for that, because there's something happening in that relationship. Okay, now it is time to define what emotional abuse is, and let me say it the way Beverly Angel said it in the book. She says that, let's read the paraphrase. When most people think of emotional abuse, they usually think of one or both partners belittling or criticizing the other. But it is much more than that. Like, it is really, really much more than that. Emotional abuse can be defined as any non-physical behavior that is designed to control, intimidate, subjugate, demean, punish or isolate the other person through the use of degradation, humiliation, or fear. Did you get that? Okay. Examples of emotional abuse in intimate relationships. This one, I wrote it out. We need to list it out. It's so important to list it out so we are not missing out on anything. Let me drink some water. Remember that there's an episode we did. You are too good to feel this bad. Um, an orthodox way to living an unorthodox life. One of the things that we have the book review on this podcast, so you can listen to it. One of the things that we discussed: sleeping, eating, drinking water, breathing well. Please, you have to go and listen to that episode. Okay, back to emotional abuse. Examples of emotional abuse in intimate relationships: humiliation or degradation. Number two, discounting and negating. When somebody is just, you're doing something, you're so excited about it and everything, and you just come and meet person says, what did you do? Or you, as your Yorubas will say, nikini, so what? Like, doesn't matter. And anybody can do that. No, that is emotional abuse. Domination and control. Judging and criticizing. Accusing and blaming. They will never take responsibility for their problems. It is always you. They'll sure find a way to put it back on your head, and you'll be wondering, is it not me that is that bad like this? You are being emotionally abused. Please recognize it. Trivial or unreasonable demands or expectations. All the people that I'm tempted not to. I'm tempted to say this, but let me not say what's in my mind. I wanted to say that all the ladies that give, or men or ladies, anybody, partners that give unreasonable demands because you are not dating them, you are supposed to take all their problems on your head and help them resolve it. That's not nice. That's abusing somebody else. It's good to take care of your partner. It's good to buy each other gifts, but essentially don't weigh the person down with your issues, please. Emotional distancing and silent treatment. Isolation. Okay, this one, let me read the second part. I just said emotional distancing and the silent treatment. Isolation. I'll get back to this. Let me just go down a bit. So those ones are very, it's easy that you say, somebody accused me, discounted me, negated, is trying to control me, trying to dominate me, and all of those. It's easier to say all of those things. But there's another part we need to really, really pay attention to. Is the subtle forms. Withholding of affection and attention. Like, I have heard of cases where men or women refuse to make love to their married partners, and that is not nice. That is emotional abuse, because they just feel you didn't do something or you did something. They just say, no man, I'm not interested. That is emotional abuse. Like, recognize this, bro and sis. Withholding of attention or affection. Disapproving, dismissive, condescending looks, comments, and behavior. Some people are very childish. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Some people are so childish. Like, they will make funny faces and just dismiss people, give funny comments, sulking and pouting because of one small. I've heard of a couple that because of one thing, like one very literally very small thing, the woman will just refuse to talk, and the man will just say, when she's ready she'll talk to me. 1 week will pass. One day she'll now say alpha, and that's the end of it. That's not nice. That is emotional abuse. Sulking and pouting. Projection or and accusations. Subtle threats of abandonment, either physical or emotional. Say, I'll leave you, I'll just go and divorce you, I'm not even doing it again. Any small thing, I'm not nice. Sometimes emotional abuse is negative attitudes, not only negative behavior. This one, she gave an instance of something called symbolic violence. Symbolic violence is physical behavior that can be considered as emotional abuse. So this one is not like the person is not inflicting pain on the person, you understand, on their abuse on their subject. You understand? Their prey. The person is not inflicting direct pain or physical pain, but the person is doing things that would, you understand, like make the person anxious and all of that. Let me give you examples like slamming doors. Imagine being in a house with someone and the person is just slamming doors. Your mind will not be at rest now. That is not a normal behavior at all. Kicking walls, like something just happens and person is hitting walls, kicking walls and everything, or throwing objects. You know, people just throw utensils in the kitchen, break plates, break bottles, stationery, furniture, and sometimes you just be afraid. Like let this thing not touch me in my eyes. Oh, like it is not even funny at all. Driving recklessly when the other person is in the car. This one, I think it was on Instagram that I read of a woman saying that the man was abusing, was a narcissist, like abusing her and everything. Then one day she was in the car, like she felt she was going to die. Like, and he now started doing it over and over again. Okay, so another thing is the threatening to destroy object the victim's value. This is like you say, I'll just throw your iPad away. Oh, I will just break your phone. And even in some instances, maybe it was the person, that abusive partner that bought the phone or bought the gadget, the person actually does it. Another one that people need to pay attention to, and she said in the book, when you go and like when you infiltrate the person's space, you understand. Okay, so for example, as someone like me, I like to write a lot, and I have a lot of diaries. That is the I'm so I have a lot of diaries over the years, and these are my personal properties. In fact, I still have some of my diaries from secondary school. And my dad, I remember one time they were doing cleanup and trying to, because we just have a lot of books in my house, and trying to just know what to throw away and everything. I remember my dad calling me specifically to ask me, just saying, I found something, it looks like a diary. I said, Daddy, please keep all my diaries. When I come home, anytime I'm around, I would tell you, I would like sort it out myself. Do I want to take them? Do I want to throw them away? It is my personal property and nobody should read it. This one, I find it very personally meaningful to me, because I can't imagine having a partner that tries to read my diary, that tries to go through my things, going through another person's things. That is classified as symbolic violence. It is not nice. Like you see people that complain that they just come back, their clothes have been scattered. No. That is not a normative behavior. Making faces, pointing fingers at someone's face, and in fact, even as Africans, we know that it is very rude. I remember going to you guys, my friend now, like we sorted this out. But what happened was that I went to a venue. Okay, we had already paid for a venue to be used for something, you understand? So I went to the venue and I got there. I was like, okay, all right, good afternoon. How are you? My name is Tosin. This is a person that come here to make an inquiry. I just came to check. Tomorrow is our event. So checked, do you have internet? Do you have AC? Do you have extra fans? What time is your generator gonna come on? I just got there and I was saying all of these things, and it felt like I was speaking gibberish. The receptionist lady said, "Let me call manager for you." I didn't even know that there was trouble looming already. Anyways, so that's how the manager came, and I went through my own list that I came with. And the man was like, no, nothing, there's nothing like that. This. Your friend did not come to talk about this. I was like, no. So what do you mean? You understand? Will our guests arrive and they are not, and the gen is not on 5 minutes to the time? Because the manager insisted that the gen was going to come on when our event was going to start, when my friend told them that the event was going to start. Anyways, so we got talking and I was like, no, I'm not happy about this. And the man just went, he just went, hold on, I'm talking. I don't looked at him. Oh God, please, what did I do? Like, we're having a conversation, a business conversation, and you're saying, hold on, I'm talking. Are you talking to your little child at home? Are you talking to, I don't even know I don't understand what you even say. It's not making sense to me. So I was like, oh sir, I don't like what you just said. Like, could you please tone it down a bit and let's have this conversation? Before you knew it, the man just, like, he went pointing. Remember I was talking about pointing in someone's face. The man just went and started pointing in my face. and I can't even remember what he was saying, but he was pointing in my face. It was at the point he actually pointed in my face, because I remember actually I've read in psychology books, and I've had discussions with friends about pointing in someone's face. Just, I'm warning you, those kind of like pointing your index finger at somebody. Anyways, when the guy was pointing, I had to tell him categorically, please don't point your hands at me. And when I got to him, sometimes you also want to assess yourself, like give another person a feedback as regards what happened, so you hear another person's opinion. So I got to him and told one of my friends that, see what happened though. And it was like, I don't understand, like, why will you be pointing his fingers and that? I don't even want to know the details of whatever transpired between you people, what you were asking. I don't even want to know. That's not even as important as the fact that he was pointing his hand in your face. This is even a professional setting. What if it was an intimate relationship? Will he kill the partner? And in fact, I was even sorry for the other person's partner, because it appears that he's married. So, anyways, pointing faces at hands at people is something that, imagine somebody pointing. I was already literally scared. That's the truth. Like, I remember that I was like, this guy has nothing to lose. Let me just be moving back. I already packed my bag because I sat down and I had my phone on the table and everything. I just started picking my things one after the other. And I was finding my way out of the place. Please, I cannot speak English. I don't have energy for wala. I don't want anybody to hurt me. But I really had to point it out to the man that, you know what, this is not normal. This is not nice, and you shouldn't do that to somebody at all, at all. And I would not take that from you. And afterwards, we use the facility, apologize and everything, and we use it twice because we had paid to use it twice, and they were able to help us resolve that issue, the issue we had. And at least throughout the time that we've dealt with them to afterwards, he seemed to have recognized the behavior. I hope he's not just doing it because he's me and still being nasty towards other people. Anyway, so that was just that about pointing fingers at someone's face. Okay, so let's go. There's another subheading that says how emotional abuse damages. Okay, before you discard all of these things, and you say, oh, they are normal, there's nothing there. Or people say, oh, what did you do to, he's a man now, yeah, he's older than you. Before you discard all of these things, let's talk about the effects of emotional abuse. Because no one, usually people don't talk, until somebody is being killed or commits suicide. Killed as in somebody is being murdered, commits suicide, loses a body part. That's why everybody will be talking. Like this Osinachi Nwachukwu that died, everybody suddenly, the whole of Nigeria is now finally agreeing that it is healthy for a woman to live an abusive relationship. But this, I was just trying not to say anything about this thing publicly, because I was asking my friend and I were having a conversation about this. I was like, you know what do you think, if this woman had left her marriage that time, wouldn't they have called her a divorcee? A lot of people would have tagged her and said, oh, she's a divorcee and everything. Somebody even said recently, I think yesterday or something, he was saying that, he was saying something, that, what's her name, Victoria Orenze, that she's a divorcee, and like she really had issues in her marriage, and it impacted her, in fact, impacted her mental health, and she had to leave eventually. In fact, I respect that woman like double now, because for her to have had that strength to leave, and I respect every single person that is not tagging her. So let's talk about the effects of emotional abuse without discarding them or anything. Okay, so effects of emotional abuse. Number one, depression. Number two, lack of motivation, confusion, difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Like I've seen at this one, I've seen people, victims of emotional abuse. They just say, I'm tired. They are tired. Always just tired, always losing vigor for life. That is something to really, really pay attention to before that person goes to do something to themselves. Low self-esteem, um, low self-esteem, feelings of failure or worthlessness or hopelessness, self-blame. They always blame themselves that maybe they are doing something that is making their partner do that to them. Self-destructiveness, feelings of hopelessness, failure, and worthlessness. Okay, so Okay, so we have already established before that even though there is no physical impact in emotional abuse, it is said to be the most painful form of violence and very detrimental to one's well-being. Emotional abuse poisons a relationship and infuses it with hostility, contempt, and hatred. No matter how a couple once loved each other, once emotional abuse becomes a consistent aspect of their relationship, that love is overshadowed by fear, anger, guilt, and shame. Okay, so we need to now ask the golden question. Are you being emotionally abused or are you being emotionally abusive? Let's go on a quick commercial break and we'll be right back to discuss this. Stay with us.
The Blonde Path.
Hello, Plant Panthers. My name is Oluwatosin. Welcome back to the book review of The Emotionally Abusive Relationship, How to Stop Being Abused and Stop Abusing by Beverly Angel. Okay, so we are talking about now. We need to ask and answer these following questions in order to help us determine whether we are being emotionally abused or emotionally abusive. Number one, are you being threatened, treated like a child? Are you, the way you're being spoken to, corrected? Do you feel that you need to ask for permission always before doing something? Number two, does your partner treat you like you're less or inferior to him or her in terms of education, resources you're bringing into the relationship? For example, your partner has a car and both of you share it, and your partner always has to remind you that this is my car, I brought it into the relationship, or I have more money, I'm more attractive or talks to you about your weight, your height. I'm not saying this is an excuse to be reckless with yourself, but you just have to point it out. At least the person saw you like that before he or she approached you. Number three, does your partner routinely ridicule, dismiss, or disregard your opinions, your thoughts, your suggestions, and your feelings? Number four, are you being belittled? Your accomplishments, your plans, your aspirations. People in relation, some people will say, I did so thing, and you're so excited about it. And your partner will say, I think I said that before. And so what? What's that? Number five now. Do you think you have to be careful or walk on eggshells around your partner? I've seen people that are afraid to go home. People that their partner will even tell them, what are you even doing in this house? I go out. Those kind of things. Like, you just have to be always conscious and careful about what you say. Please, there's no fear in love. It's not normal. Number six, have you stopped seeing all or many of your friends, your family since you started the relationship? This is something to pay attention to really. Does your partner insist on having things their own way? If not, they pout, they withhold affection, they give silent treatment. It has to be their way or no one else's way. That's a very subtle sign of emotional abuse. Is there frequent threat to end the relationship? Do they accuse you of cheating, flirting? Every man in your office is dating you. Every woman you are dating them. All those kind of people, please pay attention to those things. Does your partner feel he or she is always right, never wrong? Does your partner put all the blame on you for things? All the problem of the relationship is your fault. It can never be their fault. Ask yourself these questions to clarify whether you are being abused or whether you are even being the abusive person. This book is in two parts: how to stop being abused and how to stop being abusive. You understand? So please ask yourself these questions and ensure that you're providing honest responses to this. We need to point out the fact that not all emotionally abusive relationships are the same. So there are different dynamics that come with emotional abuse. Different dynamics. Number one, type one is one partner abuses and the other doesn't. This is a very possible dynamic where the abusers feel often blame their partners for their own problems, and their partner has not contributed to the abusive relationship in any way. So it is very possible to have somebody that you are not contributing in any way. Usually when people have emotional abuse, usually at the beginning, you'll be asking, maybe I did this, maybe I did not answer, maybe I didn't. It is very possible. Just let this possibility sink in. Oh God, let this possibility sink in very, very, very well. Let it sink in that it is very possible to be in a relationship, to be with a partner, and the person is emotionally abusing you, and you are actually not doing anything to contribute to the abuse. Well, maybe the only way the author feels, Beverly Angel feels, that maybe what you could be contributing is not even your fault. Maybe you are just even too understanding, you are too complacent, you're making excuses for them, you are just allowing things to happen, you are smiling sheepishly, or explaining away what is apparently wrong. For example, you're talking to a guy, like you're talking to in the first few weeks of talking to a guy, something happens and the guy shouts at you, and you now say, maybe he's in a bad mood. Please call that attitude out. Or the lady is abusing you and she's blaming you for something that happened, or she's gaslighting you, or she's giving you silent treatment because you didn't do something or so, or you did something, whatever. Make sure you call that thing out. So what happens in this dynamics usually looks like this. In fact, she really took time to explain this one. She was like, one partner has learned to overlook the unkindness and disrespect of the other. One partner is made to feel that he or she is always wrong. The one partner is made to question his or her perception, opinion, and reactions, to feel like that his or her feelings are wrong. One partner blames him or herself, or is blamed whenever there's a problem in the relationship. Some people just say, it's not your fault. See, now you did this, now you did this. Never their fault. One partner, the abusive partner, he often denies that that incident has occurred, and this one is very crazy. Like, this one is mental torture. Like, somebody will slap you and say, I did not slap you. My people. Or somebody makes snide comment, you not be asking yourself, am I crazy? Didn't I hear what this person said to me? This one is a very serious thing. I need to pay attention to it. The abusive partner controls the interpersonal communication, and this one, making snide comments. If you know me personally, you will know this part. Making snide comments, derogatory comments. This one you have to pay attention to if you are seeing it often. And don't think that it is all right, that at least it's one person, and all of those things. That brings us to the other part, the other type of emotionally abusive relationship, type 2, which says that one partner began abusing the other, and the abusive person now chooses to retaliate. So don't think that it's just one person, at least the person will change. No way. Because sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm a good person, I can never hurt my partner. Sometimes that person will push you to the extent that you now become toxic. I've spoken with somebody before that the person was like, I did not believe I could be this toxic. Èmi náà ni mo sọ gbogbo eléyìí. Like, it's me that started saying all of these things. Hey, and in my life, I did not even believe I could that talk. I could not believe I could say things out and lash at another person. That's what happens when somebody is abusing you and you're staying there. That's why we also advise people. Anytime you notice abuse, anytime you notice something is wrong, and you are actually sure, you get help and everything. It is very important. At the slightest instance of what is happening, make sure you're seeking help, because usually it degenerates. You understand? Don't take it light. I remember talking to a lady last year, that she was like, the guy shouted at her and slapped her, and it was once, and other women were like, is it not just once? I was like, these people, you want to kill her, because this ones that happen, once she accept that once, it will now become the norm. You understand what I'm trying to say? Very, very important. Please, let's pay attention to that. And let's just pay very attention to that. Type 3 says that type 3 type of emotionally abusive relationship says that from the beginning of the relationship, both partners have emotionally abused each other on an ongoing basis. Please pay attention to the fact that it is on an ongoing basis. So typical case of two problematic narcissist people jamming each other, and then they now match the energy. They consistently, actively, passively, aggressively abuse each other. I remember seeing this thing with an older couple. It felt like play. And this thing, see, that's why you have to really be careful. You have to listen to this podcast to the end and share with people, because it could be very subtle at times. You know, this older couple, they just felt, they just always used to tassel. Yoruba people say they tassel each other. They make snide comments and they just jab each other. But that thing is not, it is not right. It is not healthy. See, there's one thing. When I was secondary school, I used to tell people, see, you can play with me, we can talk, but I don't do that your mama, your papa joke. I don't make snide comments. I don't like it. It is not healthy. So this couple, but what I was talking about, yeah, like if like they would just always say something about each other, especially in public when people are there. That's my wife. I beg, please, that thing is not normal. It is not. It's true that you can joke and everything, and play around each other, but not that you be making derogatory statements, please. Okay, so one of the ways to actually recognize when this is happening, that's type 3 type of emotional abuse. From the beginning of the relationship, both partners have emotionally abused each other on an ongoing basis. They usually bring up past failures. They talk about other people that are better than their spouses in order to make them, to spite them. Unhealthy competition, who is smarter, who is more intelligent, who is richer. There is healthy competition which is normal in a relationship, like, oh, we're in a relationship together, have you read this book, can we read it together, can we review what lessons can we pick, oh, we are reading this book on parenting. Yeah, there's that. Oh, let's go out, let's do this. Oh, I want to buy you a gift, I want to do this. Oh, you want to take me out, you want to sponsor this, you want to help me with this. Oh, you want to do that. Oh, I have a wish to go somewhere, you're paying for my trip, let's go together. There are all of those healthy things, really, and so much more. You understand? So much more. Oh, let's do our masters together, let's do our PhD. Oh, let's do this. There's all of those kind of things, and it's really nice. Let's learn a skill together. But on a healthy competition, please pay attention to it. Run away. Silent treatment. See, usually, like we said before, that it's usually a narcissist, like two narcissist people that are talking together, or somebody that knows that, this person is abusing me, they don't want to relieve the relationship, especially maybe they have something to gain or something, so they just stay there and abuse each other. Very unhealthy. Love is not hard, love is not wicked. Please don't take that. Number 4, type 4, it is not clear who is abusing whom. It's a very typical situation. Abusers are usually experts at deflating blame, turning things around, gaslighting. I had to go check the meaning of gaslighting from the internet. Gaslighting means making someone question their own reality. So the person presents a false narrative to other people, and the abused person starts questioning their own reality. Maybe she's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. I've actually seen a guy recently that I just knew that this guy, there was just something about him, and in the few hours that we interacted, making very snide comments, just says very derogatory things. He wasn't dealing with me. I was just observing from afar. I just know that now this person is not someone I want to keep around me in the long run. Very, very unhealthy stuff. Okay, so one partner. Let's talk about this. It is not clear who is abusing whom. Um, Situation, which is something that is quite common. One partner is so focused on what he or she perceived as an emotionally abusive treatment from his or her partner, that they are oblivious to the harm their own behavior is causing. Okay, so so they are usually so it's like, I'm being abused. They don't talk about their own part of the relationship. It takes two to tango like a lot of times. There's something you are contributing, even the point that we said that you're not contributing anything. You are contributing complacency. You are not calling the person out, you are not leaving the person, you are just staying there, allowing yourself to be the doormat. That is your contribution. So you are contributing something. Okay, so these people, they will just report to everybody. For example, a woman that will come and abuse her husband for Beverly. I've had a case that I dealt with in 2020 like that. That the woman will talk at him, lash at him, call him names, call his family useless, shout and everything. Then the man now beats her. She now goes to tell everybody that she's been abused. Yes, she's being physically abused. She can show her scars, but the man does not even have evidence. At some point, the man had to start recording because he felt like gaslighting, like, she said this now, it is wrong. See, it is very painful to be in an abusive relationship because you start doubting yourself, like, this thing is wrong, I know it is wrong, but then you can't even place your hands on what's up. So very important to pay attention to these things, please. Okay. Okay, so and those people, they know how to present themselves as the helpless victim. A lot of men suffer from this, and I really feel that there should be a way to protect men for, or make emotionally abusive spouses pay for their actions. Like, a lot of men are the ones that suffer from this kind of interaction, where the woman, you understand, or where, or a lot of partners, don't let me say men, as the book had said earlier. So don't let me say men, a lot of people are being abused and they cannot even pinpoint it because their partner is, you understand, it's usually just deflating the blame and all of those kind of things. Please pay attention to this. Pay attention to that. And you need to listen to this podcast over and over again to be able to help you identify what's happening and seek help. And seek help, please. Type 5. This one, I would even like to talk about this in details. Type 5. One partner sets the other to become emotionally abusive. So one partner deliberately sets the scene so that his or her partner will lose his or her temper and be made to look like the abusive one. There's usually setup, so that setup can be consciously, unconsciously. The author says, so though it won't be like Histose Mugbadade that says. Let me read it out from the book for you. The author says that although there is never an excuse for abusive relationship behavior, although there's never an excuse for abusive behavior, when a person is pushed to his limits, it is difficult to retaliate, not to retaliate in kind. Another type is making the other person angry and the person naturally responds. They're now using it as an excuse to stay away from the person. I have seen this thing over and over again. It has happened to me and it's so immature. I see a lot of church guys, or even guys generally, or ladies, using it as an excuse to break up with somebody. You're done with the relationship, and instead of you to break up like a proper human being, no, you now try to find fault something the person did, and then you now say, I can't be with you again because of this. Let me give you an instance of the situation that it happened to me. It has actually happened to me twice before. Okay, so the first instance was that some minor things happened. I weren't even in the same city at the time. Some minor things happened, missing calls and all of those things. And I was like, what's up? Are you okay? Like, is everything fine? And all of those. And the next thing was like, why are you asking me that kind of question? This, that. In fact, I'm no longer interested in the relationship. Like play. It breaks up like that. I was so devastated in the moment. Like, I was so devastated. I didn't really understand what exactly happened to me. You understand? And the funny thing is that I feel validated right now because while I was reading the book, this is the exact example that Beverly Angel used. I was just laughing. I was like, you see, I was just right at that time. So first of all, I just knew what he was doing was wrong, and I knew I was very right. Like, I not done anything wrong to deserve that. So I didn't chase after him. So usually, sometimes in abusive relationships, or and when somebody does this, sometimes one off. Like in this situation, it was one off. When somebody does something like this, usually the abused partner runs after the abusive partner. So in this situation, I didn't run after him. So I just sat back to try to understand how I might have contributed to that, and just to understand what's happening. So I started reading psychology books and all of those things. And at some point, to be sincere, it made me doubt my ability to keep a thriving relationship. I'll be like, if I say yes to this person, what if the relationship doesn't work? That one broke up with me like that, though. I couldn't pinpoint what I did. So I started reading psychology books and it helped me in the process. And do you know what happened? About like 4 years after that had happened, 4 years, I'd moved on. No, in fact, spoken with other people, dated, and was just going on with my life. I didn't pause my life because of him. I healed, I forgave myself, forgave him, even if he did not ask for my forgiveness, and I just moved on with my life. About like 4 years after all of these things had happened, there was an occasion that, like, there was an instance where we had the opportunity to sit down in the same room and have a conversation. So he was not telling me that he was actually looking for a way to break up with me. That he was like, he has always asked, let me quote him, he has always asked himself this question, that how do you break up with somebody that has always been good to you, and you don't even have a way, you don't even have any just cause to break up with the person, that you just use that as an excuse, which is very toxic though. Like, if you're not doing again, say it. Somebody did not hurt you, you now did that. Imagine I didn't heal, imagine God didn't help me, imagine I didn't get support from my family and friends, and I just healed and moved on. Imagine that would have been damaging. That's how some people will have become feminists. I don't need a man, men has come. Excuse me, men are not come. I need man, and I love relationships. I love love. And I'm not going to allow that one event to spoil my life. I beg. Okay, so really, we're able. He apologized and had moved on. He's even with another person and all of that. But one thing is that I don't like to keep someone like that around me, like in my close up circle. He tries to be nice. He's not a bad person, but I know that there are just a lot of toxic traits in him that I will. Maybe he doesn't understand what he's doing as well. But he'll be fine without me. I'm not Jesus. I'm not come to die for the sins of other people. So you'll be fine. I hope he gets help and counseling, because really that is a very unhealthy behavior, that you will still repeat that pattern. Okay. So the other person that did that to me, I was even older, wiser, I've worked on different cases, I've heard more things, you understand? And when he even did that, I was not looking at him. I was like, I beg, please, please, please. I cried in the moment. He hurt me and everything. But I was like, I beg. Like, it was just one small thing that happened. And one thing that happened, and it was like, I can't be with a woman like that. It was like, how is he doing you? I beg, please, pack well. Literally, that was my attitude. I was like, I beg, please. I just moved on my own life. Okay, so there was also this guy that cheated on his babe, that I heard of, that cheated. He was gaslighting the babe. And in fact, I don't I like he now kept on telling all his friends that he didn't cheat, and my friend was not like, boy, he cheated. This was what happened, and he kept, like, even in literally at the point of death, this guy would tell you he didn't cheat. You did not cheat. I remember what happened. Like, we remember the details. Just left him and his friends. They will be fine. They will be all right. They should believe their their gigolo friend. Abi, how did they say, their gigolo friend? They should believe their friend. All of them will be okay. They'll be fine. So it just comes in different forms, and we really just need to pay attention to it. But once you spot BS, once you start spot bullshit, once you spot something that is not okay, please don't condone it. Don't play along. Don't hope the person will be better. Speak about it. It's very possible that the abused person gets help, you guys get help, and things actually change and everything. It's not, you understand, but then don't just sit down and condone it and just hope and wish and pray and do deliverance away that things will change. I beg, don't whine yourself, I beg. So this number 6 type is one partner is abusive due to a mental illness or personality disorder. That's that. Second, the seventh and the final one is that one or both partners has an abusive personality. So people like this may seem to be charming at times and can sometimes manage to put up a false front in public when it is absolutely necessary, but their basic characteristics and their underlying personality traits are usually characterized by the need to dominate and control others, a tendency to blame others for all their problems and to take their frustrations on other people. There's verbal abuse, there's frequent emotional and sometimes physical outbursts, an overwhelming need to retaliate and hurt others for real and imagined slights or affronts. Then also, they insist on being respected without being respectful, like that other person I spoke about. Then showing a blatant disregard for the needs and feelings of other people. And let me say this also, please try and watch this movie, Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Wolf is, this wolf is spelled WOOF. F, yes. Who is afraid of Regina? If you can read it, it will be great. Let's go on a quick commercial break. We'll be right back to discuss chapter 4, which will be our last part of this particular episode. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The Blonde Path.
All right, welcome back. Remember, this is the book review of the emotionally abusive relationship, how to stop being abused and stop being abusive, by Beverly Angel. Okay, we're right back to chapter 4. You will do well to listen to all the other parts and share this with others. The patterns that begin in childhood, why we abuse and why we take it. So Eleanor Pageant says that the events of childhood do not pass but repeat themselves like seasons of the year. The events of childhood do not pass but repeat themselves like seasons of the year. So it is said that no one sets out to become a victim of emotional abuse. I don't think anybody goes into a relationship and says, yes, no, as I'm not in this relationship, do not be slapping or kicking them. No, usually no. Few people set out to become abusive towards their spouses too. So if people have good intentions, supposedly, so how did we get there? Let me read something Beverly Angel said. She said, if you are in an emotionally abusive relationship, it is very likely that you were emotionally abused as a child. This may sound like an extreme statement, but believe me, it is not. The truth is, few people put up with an emotionally abusive adult unless they were abused as a child. And nearly every person who becomes emotionally abusive has a history of abuse in childhood. Let me take a few let's make a few comments about that paragraph. So you see, some people cannot just stand or rationalize abuse. I've seen people like that. They don't have chips for things like that. So society can term those people as being maybe stubborn, vocal, troublesome, whatever they want to say. That's their business. I actually don't mind. But then the truth of the matter is that it is not their reality and they can't even stand it. Let me give you two instances. Number one, everybody has their unique childhood though, and it's not like there's no perfect childhood. And my childhood wasn't perfect, but I can tell you that my own childhood though, as a child, my childhood was healthy, was a healthy one. My parents tried for us, me and my siblings. So I grew up seeing my dad cleaning the house. In fact, I just turned and I can see my fan in the house. I'm recording from home today and I can see my fan. And I remember vividly as a child, my father cleaning our wall fan. And you know what? I can see that picture in my head right now. And for a long time, I just think that that's daddy's job. I wonder how come I didn't write it in social studies in school. Duties of a father, cleaning fan, aside all the money and all the other things and protection that a father does in the house. So the point is that I saw my dad doing that. I saw my dad doing most of his laundry. I saw my dad, there's soup in the pot. My dad would just say, let me make eba, let me make semo. And it's like a normal thing. I don't see that as abnormal. I remember in 2020, I was cooking for my dad and he asked me to make a meal for him and I needed to really do so. I think I had a Zoom meeting or something and I stood up from so I said, please, can you give me something? He said, oh sure, I'll go for your meeting. I think the meeting was like for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It was just something very brief. So by the time I came out, I saw that my dad had made semo and he made for both of them and there was no one lump inside that semo. Shout out to daddy. Okay, so and my dad was like, oh, so I want you to now come and make the soup so we can eat. I was like, dad, you should have left it and be rest. He said, no, you came back now, you are doing Zoom meeting, yeah, you will now cook. That it's not nice. Now you should do something. He's a human being, so he has hand. So I grew up seeing my dad like that. And even as I just narrated something that happened 2 years ago during the pandemic time, around the pandemic, I can't remember if it was during the lockdown itself, but the point is that, so I've seen that growing up and that is my reality. I'm not talking about for another person. That is my reality. So I really cannot, and I have a lot of friends, male friends, that they saw their meals by themselves. They stand up and wash their salad ingredients and they slice it and make it. In fact, I usually even joke about this, that as an university student, I wasn't cooking for any guy in university. In fact, people will cook in the hostel, ladies will cook in the hostel, refuse to give us and go and give their boyfriend. And I had male friends just call me, how far to sing, you don't land, oh yeah, come and eat, and I'll go and eat the food. So it is a normative behavior for me to see a man cook, wash out time himself, carry his plate and wash it. Yeah, there are times that you will just sit down and you just carry his plate normal. But then it wasn't a barbara thing, it wasn't an exceptional thing for a man to carry his plate. So I've seen people that grew up in an environment where maybe they were house helps, or their father was like just like that, their father doesn't do anything, or their father does not carry his plate. So if they see their husband trying to carry, say, no, my husband don't. I remember somebody that was just telling me something, that he was married, and while he was married, the wife will wake up as early as 5 a.m. and be trying to cook for him early in the morning. And you'll be like, why are you stressing yourself? I want to wake up and eat bread and coffee, or just drink coffee and go my way. And you're not trying to be the good wife. They eventually separated, so many things, yeah. But this is not this person's behavior. That's why we have to also, when we are getting into romantic relationship, I'm talking to myself too, try to understand how this person grew up, what's the person's norm, before even trying to, you understand, just try and understand the person as an individual first before even trying to mix up and everything. And these underlying values, they really impact us. Okay, so that is my own normal behavior. That is my reality. So there's no way anybody in the world, and I always say, you can't convince me that a man is not supposed to do anything in the house and a woman is meant to slave away until she dies. It is not my normal behavior, but for some people it is normal. You understand? So remember that we are talking about how we accept abuse and everything, how we accept abuse and patterns and all of that. There's a part I need to read out from the book. It says, were you abused or neglected as a child? Often, we grew up thinking that the way we were treated was normal and to be expected, when in fact it was abusive or neglectful. Emotional abuse is sometimes so innocuous and leaves such invisible scars that many people do not realize they were emotionally abused as a child. Emotional abuse of children includes all the following categories. Make a note of each type of abuse you experience. Please listen carefully. Physical neglect. When a parent does not feed a child enough food or provide the basic necessities such as clothing, shelter, or medical attention if needed. 2. Emotional neglect or deprivation. When parents don't take an interest in their child, do not talk to or hold and hug their child, and are generally emotionally available to their child. Alcoholic parents in particular and are often neglectful to their children's needs. Physical abandonment. When parents leave a child alone in the car or home for long periods of time, or do not pick up their child at a designated place and time. Parents that leave their children in school, this is not something that maybe there was traffic or something just happened repeatedly, forget kids in school. I remember growing up in secondary school, I remember these two boys. They were in fact, one was in nursery 2, one was in primary 2. I'm trying not to say their name on air. Before they became boarded, at that age they were boarding house students. Before they became boarders, there was an instance that I heard that the parents traveled for Yoruba party and left these children in school, and they did not remember them till Sunday. Real life experience. So this thing is a form of abuse. Physical abandonment, very very important, is a form of abuse, and we need to pay attention to. It's in the form of abuse and neglect. Verbal abuse, constantly putting a child down, name calling, being overly critical. Boundary violation, not respecting a child's need for privacy, such as constantly walking in on a child in the bathroom without knocking, entering a child's bedroom without knocking, especially an adolescent's room, going through a child's private belongings as a regular habit, not as a way of monitoring a troubled child's behavior. Remember I said this about reading somebody else's diary. It is not nice, like it is not normal. It is boundary violation. Thank God we even read this section of the book out, so you won't think that it was just me that said that. And this is a thoroughly researched book. Emotional sexual abuse: when parents create an inappropriate bond with their child or use their child to meet their own emotional needs, and the relationship can easily become romanticized and sexualized. Role reversal: when a parent expects a child to meet his or her needs to, or in essence parent them. Chaotic abuse: being raised in a family where there was very little stability, but instead constant up, uphill uphill and discord. Social abuse: when parents directly or indirectly interfere their child access to his or her peers, or fail to teach their child essential social skills. ah let's say it very well so people can hear. Intellectual abuse: when a child's thinking is ridiculed or attacked, and he or she is not allowed to differ from each from the parent point of view. You can't even have a child like me and have that kind of stuff. Anyways, so that's that. Please pay attention to that. So let's talk about repetitive compulsion as we bring this episode to a close. And repetition, the repetition compulsion, an unconscious drive to repeat the same. This is an unconscious drive to repeat the same type of abusive relationship we ourselves experienced as a child, in an attempt to accomplish a new outcome. Judith, versed in her book Necessary Losses, puts it this way: whom we love and how we love are revivals, unconscious revivals of early experiences. Even when revival brings us pain, we will act out the same old tragedies unless awareness and insight intervenes. When I was reading this part of the book, actually, I underlined awareness and insight. And in fact, let me underline it again: awareness, insight, very, very important. Okay, so if awareness, you have to be aware of the source of your abuse, source of why you are actually condoning abuse, and who abused you as a child. And source, identifying exactly what you're doing now. Understand, like, to know that what you're doing constitutes abuse. Okay, and then we need to move from knowing what's up to knowing what to do. That is insight. Excuse me. Compulsion is how emotionally abuse, like other forms of abuse, gets passed down from one generation to the next. In far too many cases, we unfortunately become our parents, in spite of our best effort to do the contrary. The author briefly actually talks about herself, how her mom was a snob, she was judgmental, uptight, and all sorts. And she was trying to be the opposite of her mom. She was trying to always be accommodative of people. And then she was hurt, she was the doormat. And after that, she now retaliated. It was like resurrection. She started having emotional outbursts. She was very possessive, jealousy crept in, and everything. Before she knew it, she was just like her mom that she didn't want to be like. Thankfully, she got help and therapy. And please, Africans, let's say this: Nigerians, everybody, Yoruba people, Hausa people, Igbo people, Ishekiri people, Igala people, Benin people, everybody, let's say it, Nupe people, get help. Going for therapy doesn't mean you are mad, you are crazy, and everything, and all of those kind of notions that we have. Going for therapy is actually a positive behavior, and we should embrace it. We should really embrace it. So this is going to be the last part of our book review for today. We are going to briefly talking about the different types of abusive styles of relationship of parenting, abusive styles of relationship of parenting, abusive types of parenting. I'd like to go on a quick commercial break. We'll join you soon.
The glide path.
Okay, so let's talk about abusive styles of parenting. Number one, the abandoning, rejecting, rejecting parents. So there's physical abandonment, we've spoken about that before, forgetting to pick up children, emotional unavailability, depriving their children of necessary attention, affection, and needed encouragement. So that is a type of abusive styles of parenting. Number two is the possessive parent that wants to dominate, control, and emotionally consume their child. um this is this kind of parent focus on the negative, focus a lot of negative attention on their child. They are often hyper vigilant, they are critical to a fault, they are always pointing hands at the child. Sometimes because they usually is usually out of fear, they fear that child is going to do something wrong and all of that. Maybe they will say, I was treated this way, and education is the only way I knew while growing up, so you have to read, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's not good at all. Threats. I remember we actually had a client like this at a point in time. The parents were even invigilating me, and they could not even allow us to do their work. One of their children even used a word for me and asked a question at some point. Said, Miss Tosin, why do my parents pick on me? In fact, this was the word that this Beverly Angel used in in this book, that a lot of parents like that in this category, they usually, this category we are talking about. Oh my god, I missed it up already. I missed it up. I was wondering. Okay, so let me take it again. We first spoke about the abandoning, rejecting parent. So we now spoke about the possessive parent. The possessive parents are the ones that will not allow their kids to explore. Of course, you would allow your kids explore within what they call it safe boundaries, but this kind of parents will not even allow their kids explore. They won't even allow them to build, to get necessary social skills. Remember, we read that out before. Then even as adults, grown as adults, these parents want to still be actively involved in their parents' life, which is not healthy. So yes, we now have the domineering and controlling parents. These ones want to control their kids. They want to dictate every aspect of their kids' life: how to dress, how to speak, how to act, who to associate with, and of course who to marry. Okay, so these parents are easily ruled by fear. Some are authoritarian. If we support parents like this, that they will even add emotional blackmail and join to you. They will say things like, "A child is supposed to respect his parent. Oh, mommy, near you are my child and you must do what I say to you." You know, those kind of things. So if you have narcissist parents or parents that are domineering and overly controlling, you really need to pay attention to doing things like really healing from them. There's a book I know that's about, you can send us a mail if you would like us to recommend this book to you. The book talks about or you can actually even search online, how adult kids can break free from narcissist and authoritative parents, something like that. If you Google, you see that. So what I was actually even talking about before I mixed it all up is the hypercritical parents. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so these hypercritical parents always try to find fault. Hypercritical parents are quick to point out what is wrong and what that child has not done. They don't even pay attention to what that child has done. For example, that kind of parent, when a child gets 19/20 in school, they will say, what happened to the remaining one? So their focus is always on negative energy, negative attention. Their house is actually almost always toxic, and you can feel the toxicity from the house. So they are usually very hyper vigilant, they are critical, they they assume that their child is going to do wrong and all at every moment. So they just always want to hover around the child. There's usually threats. Yeah, I will not give you this, I'll take this privilege away from you, and it is not nice. In fact, see, and the children get tired. I've heard children say, what will happen? Children, especially as they become adolescent, they don't fear you again. They say, what will happen? What will my daddy do? My dad will just shout. That's the end. Sometimes our educators, we hear a lot of things that sometimes you just start laughing at the parents, and or sorry, not laughing at the parents, you just start laughing, not out of you just don't even know what to do, you just smile at those instances. Okay, so what I was saying about the clients, that the parents were invigilating the child gets 19.5/20. They will say, what happened to the remaining half? Or the child get 99.1%. the parent is trying to get that child to 99.7%, zero social skills, no sporting skill, the child is always at home, the child is just acting. You just be like, this person, you're not developing a 360-degree child. You're just developing someone that knows book, that just understand academic, that's all. So what I was saying about the child using this word on me, that Mr. So why is my parent always picking on me? What I was saying, that Beverly Angel actually said it, that these parents pick on their children. And really, I need to say this, mommy and daddy, in case you're in this category, or you know anybody in this category, please, you are actually an abusive parent. You need therapy, and it's better to even pay attention to these things, because later on the effects are actually even getting worse by the day. So you need to really pay attention and like love up on your kids. Stop abusing them. You're an abusive parent, that's the truth. Even if nobody tells you, because you have money, or nobody can call you to order and everything. Me, I'm calling you to order here. Pay attention to that, please. If you know a parent doing this, please, you need to pay attention to that and help them seek help. Get help and pay attention to that. And of course, you pray for them. I'm not saying you should not pray for them, but please let them get practical help that is needed. So um really, that's that about that. Like, I'm sure that you must have picked a lot of things in this episode, and let's say this episode has been amazing. Like, it's been amazing, it's been a learning point for me, and I'm sure it's been a learning point for you as well. We dedicate this episode to the late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu. She reportedly passed on after being brutalized by her husband. The story bordered around being kicked in the chest. She was brought to a hospital in Abuja, Nigeria, where she was on life support for about 5 days before passing on Friday, 5th April 2022. We should note that she was emotionally abused. I mean, like we said earlier, physical abuse usually comes with emotional abuse as well. May her soul rest in peace. May abuser experience the full weight of the law. May justice prevail. May our religious institutions and society as a whole do better. May safe houses, structures, and facilities be put in place to help the abused and the abuser. May we seek knowledge in this subject. May we stop labeling people as divorcee or divorced people and divorced people and genuinely help people. May we allow people to be single in peace. Amen and amen. Thank you for listening to this episode. Remember to listen to this full episode, share with somebody, because this episode will help you identify emotional abuse, clarify the various dynamics of emotional abuse, particularly helpful for men who are actually being abused and can't identify what's happening to them, or are ashamed to do so because of shame. It helps you to understand the source of abuse and different types of abusive parents. Do you think we need to do an episode to discuss some other parts of the book? I mean, this feels like part one of parts, like a part of the book. Do you think we need to do an episode? Please let us know in the comment section. Listen and share with somebody. You may be saving an individual, a family, a life, or an entire generation. Listen to other book reviews and that we have, and crucial conversations we have in education on this podcast platform. Remember that this is Plant Path Podcast. It was brought to you by Plant Path Consult, your choice hub for podcasts, collaborations, consultations, counseling for individual children, families, schools, responding to learning needs, and all things education. My name is Oluwatosin Mugbadwade, and I'm going to see you in our next episode. Bye.